Okay, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and fishing accomplices, good morning and welcome back to Fishin. So it is July 11, 2025, and we are back at it on the South Shore. Yeah, been interesting. Oh, what the heck is that? We got cow-nose rays. Yeah, we got that to look forward to. Assume those are rays. But yeah, we are on the South Shore, and it is definitely full summer mode if we're seeing that around. And we're gonna try and make something happen today. Haven't fished here for about a week. I'm gonna fish a similar area to where I was in my last video, but different section. With that, hopefully some similar but also different opportunities. We got our Fluke stuff, we got our Porgy stuff, and everything in between, jigs, crabs, etc. So I think the way today is going to go is we're going to start off looking for Fluke. Have a good incoming tide right now for probably the next 2.5 to 3 hours. And once that starts to steady out, we'll make a decision if we want to continue with Fluke or if we want to switch to Porgies. If the Fluke's not happening, I'll just switch to Porgies right in the spot. If I hit a limit of Fluke, I'll switch to Porgies. If I feel like just Porgies is what I'm catching and the Fluke is mediocre, I'll switch. But really, just going to call it like we see it. Porgies weren't great last I fished, and from what I've heard, what little knowledge I can gather, it's still not 100% where, you know, Porgy mania is with all the nuclear Porgies. But we're going to try and make it happen. I don't have too many more days in the near future to make this happen. I'm going to take a little break. Nothing bad in the not too distant future, and I figured I wanted to give this at least one shot while I have the opportunity, and the conditions, the tides are working out right now, so that is what I have planned for you. So thank you for staying tuned, because it is time to get some fishing accomplished. Okay, we're rolling up on the first spot I want to check out, and unfortunately there is no world where I can see myself being able to hold with a 1/2 ounce, at least now. So even 3/4 ounce is going to be ambitious, but we're going to try. Though I'm not probably going to succeed with this tide, but we will give it our best. For whatever it's worth, I believe it's also full moon or full moon adjacent right now, so we're going to get some especially strong incoming and outgoing tide today. But we will try our best to persevere. What are we going to fish with, you ask? We're probably going to lean very heavily on gulp, predominantly these paddle sheds, so long as they're not demolished like they were last time. They probably will be, but these things tend to do a really good job this time of year, so we'll start with that. 5-inch gulp paddle shad, 3/4 ounce jig head, and we'll see what we can do here. Okay, I have fished around this area before, but never this particular piece of bottom, so I'm curious how this could stack up. Really hoping to avoid cow-nose rays today. I definitely marked a few schools of them as I was coming over here, but it's, I guess, what to expect this time of year when you're fishing South Shore inlets / bays. About 25 feet of water. Can't quite tell if I'm holding yet. Yeah, we're holding. We got a fish. And we lost a fish. Felt like a fluke. Oh, please be a fluke. A very lethargic fluke. I don't even know if this is alive, whatever it is. Huh. Well, that's a first. What were you thinking? What are you doing down there? Catch and cook, anyone? Well, I can say that's the first horseshoe crab I've ever caught. And hopefully one of the last too, because I really don't have any desire to mess around with those things. Sea robin. You will be the first of many, I'm sure. So goodbye. Okay, one drift down, not spectacular, but I'll give it at least 2 more. Definitely need more weight, up to 1 ounce, and even that might be inadequate for some of the deeper parts of this spot, but we'll try nonetheless. Getting bit, just a lot of sea robins, but I think some of the bites I did have might have been fluke. All right, we moved to probably the maximum distance I'm gonna make it with outgoing tide today, or incoming tide rather, before it switches over and I turn around. Certainly not a secret spot, but could be some really good fish here, so see what we can try and make happen. Fluke, porgies, whatever, I do not care. Took a little while, but we found a fluke, and it's pretty much right where I expected a fish to be, so let's see if we can get some more action. Be all right. Definitely not a keeper, which is fine because I just realized that I forgot my measure in the car. Got my oar if it comes down to it, but don't need to measure that one. Yeah, it's been a tough fluke bite so far. There's a lot of little, you know, tail nippers that I'm getting bites from. I don't know if they're small sea robins, small sea bass, puffer fish, whatever, but fluke fishing is not particularly great right now, so I'm gonna probably finish this drift, and depending on how it goes, if it's not great, I'm gonna try porgy fishing for a little bit with the crabs, just to give it an honest effort. Perhaps it's a sign that I should be fishing for porgies instead of fluke. Maybe when the tide starts to let up a little bit, I can fish kind of close to the main channel, but until then, you know, it's just been really lackluster. I just lost another piece of gulp to tail nippers, so we're gonna switch over to porgies, and I'm not sure how this is gonna go, but we're gonna try. Fish this J&C jig. It's about 1 ounce, I believe, and we're fishing with some shore crabs that I caught yesterday, so hopefully we can put some kind of bite together, even if it's lackluster. I wouldn't mind taking a few slab scups home for some fish sandwiches, but I'll take honestly anything. All right, generally try and get away with a lighter jig head, but with this current, I think I have to go 1 ounce. And after being snapped off so many times last time too, it seems to be the way to go. I don't even know if I'll hold with this, to be honest. I'm starting to get some bites in this particular spot, but no pickups, which leads me to believe that I need to fish lighter. The only problem with lighter is that means I need lighter line, which means if we hook something big, it's going to take us right into the pilings. That's going to be it. So hopefully these are just porgies. I've got a 15 contest leader in here. I know it's asking for trouble, but if it is just porgies, it should be okay. But if we hook something else, it could be a problem. Let's see what happens. feels like it could be a porgy. Small tug. I'll try this particular spot one more time. If nothing, we'll jump to another one. And then after that, probably switch back to Fluke. Now the tide is kind of leveling out. Yeah, so like I previously said, this tide is raging right now. So I'm just basically trying to keep cover behind these pilings just to, you know, get some semblance of being able to hold the bottom with some lighter jigs. And I did try with heavier jigs, and I was getting a lot of taps, but nothing would pick them up. So again, I know it was risky, but fishing a lighter jig with lighter line did, I think, help to get these fish that maybe were a little bit anxious to pick it up to actually pick it up, and things did turn around eventually. Maybe a big porgy. Hopefully porgy. Probably tog. That's tog. No, it's porgy. Heck yeah, I'll take them. Big old porgy. Jeez. Jumbo. Like 15 inches. Yeah, janky measurement today. That's about 16 inches. Solid. Get a few more of those, that's all I need. Okay, hopefully we can keep some kind of consistent bite together for like the next 20 or 30 minutes. I don't need a ton of porgies, but I'd like to get like 3 or 4 just to get an easy meal out of them. I find that porgies don't freeze as well as fluke, because they're a bit more on the oily side. Still good, make no mistake, but these fish will be for right now. I'm not stocking them up. Oh my gosh, this is a porgy, it's a giant. I think it is. Yeah, it's a monster porgy. Damn, son. That is what we are talking about. Big old porgy. Heck yeah, that's a big, jeez, the colors in that thing. Oh my goodness. Woohoo! The slab. Alright, I'll get those two in the bag and then throw on ice and then throw this one in the water just to bleed them out. Keep it relatively quick because of all the ocean marine life that's coming by. right. I think the tide just switched over, so it's not lost at me that this is kind of picking up right as the current is changing positions. We might have to reposition our spot, in fact, but in the meantime, let's just re-up our crab supply. If I can get like one more keeper, I'd be pretty happy. And then after that, we'll just fish for fun and see what else we can pull up off the bottom. But yeah, it's a pretty simple concept right here. We're fishing this J and C jig. I think it's a half ounce. I'm keeping it light so these fish don't hesitate to pick up the jig. We do have current, but again, I'm trying to stay in the break. And we're fishing right now 2 short crabs at a time. I've been trying 1 every so often, but they've been much more reluctant to hit 1 than 2. But I think once that bite really turns on, they won't really care. But let's try and get a few more before, you know, we either lose the bite or the tide kind of screws up everything. I do think the tide has shifted. I thought it was going to happen like in another 20 minutes, but we're definitely moving in the opposite direction now, which is going to make fishing this a bit trickier. Might have to go to the other side of this piece if I want to fish this spot still. That's no porgy. Striper, probably. It's not fighting like a striper, though. Oh, dang it. Alright, just got snapped off by a very large fish, so it's unfortunate, but up to our heavier stuff, especially since current is not necessarily in our favor right now. Alright, tide is definitely firmly in the outgoing right now. I tried fishing my heavier setup after losing that fish, but definitely wasn't getting nearly as much attention as I was with the lighter stuff, so I'm just going to stay light. I know it's risky, but just the name of the game, I suppose. That'd be a porgy. A bad tug. Tog. Come on, Tog. The porgy, the monster porgy. Not be a porgy. I think it's a porgy. Wade's fighting. Going side to side. Oh, yeah. Jumbo porgy. Jeez Louise, man. Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. Look at that thing. Oh, my gosh. Jumbo, son. Really crummy measure. I apologize. This one's almost 16.5 inches. My goodness. Slab. Well, we may have struggled with the fluke, but at least we found some good porgies and other stuff. Try this for a little while longer. I don't want to get stuck here. There's a few other spots I want to try where there could potentially be some fluke. And also another spot I want to see if there's any porgies at, just for my own future knowledge. This is fun, so let's keep going with this for now. Smith sea robin? It's quite weird. Hog maybe? Hog. No, big porgy. It's bad. I think that's going to be it for kept porgies today, unless we get one that's like clearly over 17. Alright, another nice porgy. I don't foresee myself keeping any more porgies unless they're very, very, very large. Like, it'd have to be over 17 inches for me to want to keep one at this point. Still fish for fun. It's always the offhand chance we can catch something other than a porgy doing this, but at this point, again, we're just fishing to get some good footage and have a good time, and not necessarily in that order. Smaller. It's not bad though. It's a 40. It's certainly legal, but it's not the same caliber as those other ones we're getting. It's still easily like 13 inches. 14 inches. Just here that this is like a not remarkable fish. Alright, we're gonna give the crab fishing a little bit of a break and switch back to Fluke. We've got to start to make our way closer to launch because this tide's going to carry us back there. We do not want to be fighting this tide. So we're going to throw the the paddle shad back on. Try out the 1 ounce jig head, but before we even do that, I think you know what time it is. A little bit of a palate cleanse for the video. Why not? This is hop water, sparkling hop water, crafted with adaptogens and nootropics. Tart, sunny, happy is their tagline. This is seltzer that I think is used with hops, apparently, as redundant as that might sound. Lemon lime, by the way. Yeah, that's something right there. It definitely is lemon lime, but there's like a little extra bite to it. It's non-alcoholic, but it's hard to really put your finger on it. I guess for lack of a better term, it tastes like hops. So yeah, this is definitely something a little different and worth checking out, I guess. I'm gonna give it a flat 8. It's definitely a bit odd. I don't know if I would find it the most refreshing flavor, but it's definitely got a bit more body than your typical seltzer, so filling, if you will. And hopefully we'll be filling that cooler bag with some more Fluke and potentially Porgies if we decide to. But let's drift for some Fluke. We'll start here and then start making our way back, and we'll decide what we want to do next. Yeah, so I did give the Fluke fishing at least 1 or 2 drifts in this area before I did make my way back. I was hoping maybe the switch of the tide would have maybe turned them on, but it wasn't really happening. I was just getting sea robins and a lot of small bites from tail nippers that were ruining my gulps. So after that, and after, you know, realizing that if I waited too long, I'd have to fight outgoing tide, or incoming tide rather, to get back to launch, I decided to just quickly make it to my next spot where I'd fish with crabs. The other thing I'll note is, again, I said it earlier, there were many, many cow-nose rays around. Like, I was seeing them frequently swimming around. In fact, if you look closely, you can kind of see them here. A lot of stuff moving in the bay right now. I did even see some dolphins early in the morning, but the footage didn't turn out great. But yeah, it is full swing summer mode. Alright, so we had our fun with that spot. I probably could have pushed it a bit more and hopped around and probably found more porgies, but I don't want to get sucked into that spot, particularly because I launched back in the direction we're going now, and if I wait too long, it's going to be a lot harder to fight the tide, and the tide is very strong today. But I do have at least one spot up my sleeve that I think could work, but I want to hit this one spot with crab before I get there. So those are probably the last 2 stops we're going to make. I don't want to be out here all day, and hopefully we can put something good together before we end. So yeah, let's try that. God, this tide is raging right now. Let's see what we can do over here. Big porgy. God dang. Another like easy 16-incher. Jeez Louise, man. Jeez Louise. Part of his tail's cut off, so he's 15 and a half. He'd probably be 16 if he had his full tail. Oh man. Another very nice porgy. Let's get back down there. Oh, man. Oh! Dang it. Alright, well, that was my fault. Unlike the last one that snapped me at the braid, which was also my fault. That one was at the leader. I should have just not fished that right here, but I'm going to up to my heaviest setup. 40-pound test leader, 25-pound test braid. We'll have a far better chance of pulling something big out if that happens again. I mean, I'm probably either like a tog or a striper, but let's at least give ourselves a fighting chance. It's far shallower here than the last spot, so we should be able to have a chance of getting a lighter jig down to the bottom. Down to my last few live crabs. Did get a lot of crabs. A lot of them died, which is unfortunate. They don't seem very interested in the dead ones, which I can't blame them. Getting pretty nasty. Okay, well, we only really scratched the surface of that spot. Unfortunately, while we did have a lot of crabs, a lot of them died, and they did not hold together very well, unfortunately. And the fish would not hit them, so we're abandoning the porgies and whatever else, and we're going to try and salvage some fluke fishing at the very end, right before getting out. So not super optimistic, but there certainly should be some fish here. I'm just not sure what kind of bite we're really getting ourselves into, but let's hope at least, you know, this tide is raging. It's like almost too much tide to really fish well the way I like to, but the spot I'm going to, it should be on the lighter side, so fingers crossed we can pull out a good fish or two. Okay, full circle. Gulp, paddle shad, half-ounce jig head. Should be able to get away with it here. It's not going to be as crazy, the current, but still be moving, I imagine. Just a matter of whether we can find some good fluke and not some of the other nonsense we've been encountering. Yeah, so unfortunately when I went back to this final spot, I gave it a good hour and it was basically more of the same. A lot of small tail nippers, some sea robins, and a couple short fluke, and it was really slow. I don't know if it was just an off day or if because the water's warming up, it's just like starting to get a bit tougher, but yeah, it was just not really happening. One thing I'll say is I did switch from a paddle shad to a jerk shad just because I got tired of the tails being nipped off, and that did offset some of the damaged gulp, but otherwise there wasn't anything really remarkable here, and after about an hour I just decided to throw in the towel and wrap things up. Alright, well, that's going to do it for another one. Overall, not the worst day of fishing, but definitely challenging, especially on the fluke front. There's definitely still some fish around the area, at least that I'm fishing now. I'm sure maybe if I went further into the bay or outside the inlet, maybe I'd find more numbers, but they weren't really chewing where I was. And on top of that, there's just a lot of other fish that are kind of annihilating your lure before you'll ever get in front of a fluke. So that's one of the things that's kind of going on. The other thing too, obviously, is just this tide was outrageously strong today, and obviously, you know, I could wait up, but it just wasn't really happening today. So we're definitely entering a new phase of the season where, again, like, you want to catch those fluke, you're really going to have to compete with a lot of other things at the same time. So I don't think I'm really going to work this spot for fluke again, but the porgies, on the other hand, they're definitely starting to come into their own right now. The fish are showing up in numbers and size. My only regret is, well, regrets, one, I should have taken a bit more care of my crabs, because I did bring a lot of crabs, but unfortunately a lot of them died, making them basically useless, the ones that did die. And then obviously some of those larger fish I did hook. I wish I checked my leader or just went heavier on it, but again, I got kind of lazy and just wanted to keep the 15-pound test on. That one that snapped me off, that was actually a braid snap, so I should have just been a bit more diligent checking it. I thought I checked it, but I guess I should have checked it closer. But yeah, that's definitely an option right now. That's going to be a big deal for a lot of people for the remainder of the summer. Definitely seemed like the lighter jigs were the way to go with the Porgies. Like, I tried heavier stuff even in that current, but they just like kind of peck at it and they just leave it alone. It seemed like going as light as possible. Definitely, you know, they were much more eager to hit that presentation than the heavier stuff. But yeah, maybe it's just the way it was today. At least some really solid Porgies, some real slabs. So using J&C jigs, link in the description if you're interested. And yeah, more stuff on the horizon soon. So thanks for watching as always. Catch the next one. Goodbye from fishing.